Howdy, all you delicious people! I'm here today to review The Human Centipede. First sequence. Yeah, this to probably a lot of people is a very strange and head tilting kind of like, why are you reviewing this? And I would go on and say to you that this is not the weirdest movie that I've ever seen. I have seen some just like movies that I'm like, man, this existed. And Human Centipede, as far as the weirdest things that I've ever gone on and seen, is probably not to even crack my top five, because there is some deep down strange that exists out there, and I will go on and mention them here. So, firstly, I would have to go on and mention a movie called Two, TWO, and this is a movie where it's basically just an escape film, and you have two people that are surgically intertwined together, and they at some point become intimate, and by the end of the tale you come to find out that both of them are related, and I am to just be like, why? Two was an interesting film, but not quite interesting enough. There is not enough about that film that I dare to say I give a rip about, and I think I've gone on to even review it. So you can check out my review upon number or just the word two, TWO. So, but now to the really effed up weird films that maybe may say that I may not have watched entirely of, for how freaking weird they are. So, first up, let's go on and let's mention Poultrygeist. Legitimately, in the early parts of this film, I am watching a person drop trow and plowed out, if you know what I mean. And that is not the weirdest thing. We have singing going on in this movie. We have at one point the two people are just going at it at a restaurant, and I'm just like, what is going on here? Uh there was also a Danny Trejo movie called Bullets of Justice. So we have a woman legitimately rocking a mustache. And like, it's okay, it's not the weirdest thing. Certain characters are having uh pigs for heads, like pig heads. One character is to be called Benedict A-hole, and they'll have to go on and say that name quite a bit of times, and just the movie just gets weirder and stranger, and to the point to where I just could not watch the whole thing, just because of how just absurd it gets. Like, I think I got to the point where there was just a bunch of dead bodies, um, that were very ugly looking, that they were just kind of stacking and flopping and whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if I could watch this whole thing, but if it seems that it's trending on YouTube, then guess what I'm doing? Because guess where I'm going to go on and put some tags in this movie review for sure. Um, Also, there is a movie called Society that I've never seen, and logically, I hope to possibly avoid seeing. But if it seems that people want me to review that, then guess what? If somebody comments on this video that I need to watch the Society film, then I will be, dare say, pressed to check it out, um, and hope that that person is going to actually view that review, so then I can have a view on a review. So I thank you for going on and doing that. Uh, uh, The Night of Something Strange is pretty weird. It's a zombie movie that people have to be intimate to spread the zombie infection. Man, that toilet scene though, like, frickin' is the grossest thing that I've probably ever seen. and I've seen some I've seen some strange. So yeah, so really, also, I'm sure I can probably come up with a number of other ones that are. Thanks Killing 2. It's kind of like a Thanksgiving movie, but it's Thanksgiving, and it's Thanksgiving 2. That movie just gets so obscure and just so like, why did I watch that whole thing? Um, but I just couldn't stop watching. It's a horror film, and then it's also horrible. Uh, like at one point, we just have an astronaut that is a woman that isn't wearing much of any clothes, and she's just floating off in space. And I'm just like, okay, this is the film that I decided to watch this day. I think at one point I did review it, but I don't think it's on the channel. I think it was on a previous channel. I don't think I I justified having it on this channel. And if it is, then I am just the weirdest person ever that decided to do that. But anyways, I don't think I even have Thanksgiving 1 on here, or 2. So, and Thanksgiving 1 is a little bit more normal. Anyways, after that, let me know in the comments below what is to be your weirdest freaking film ever. There also was a Mark Ruffalo, God, Mark Ruffalo, and the, uh, God, what was it called? Poor Things, where it's kind of like a Frankenstein movie that really just has like just people just going into bedroom scenes, and the soundtrack of that movie is such like a nail on chalkboard kind of like, god, like this soundtrack is the worst thing I've ever heard. um and then the movie just does nothing. So I don't know if that's the weirdest, but that's just like a movie that like no one actually needed to have seen. So with that said, let's go on and let's talk about this film. Because I've already spent 7 minutes not exactly getting to talk about this movie. So, man, this movie is a knee slapping good time had by all. Man, like, everybody needs to see the human centipede. Everyone. Uh, First sequence. Yeah, like that matters. So, this movie is basically built as like an escape film. And so we have these two girls that are tourists, and they're traveling, and I'm just like, okay, this kind of at first reminds me of Hostel. How is this going to be going horribly awry? And also, this in the beginning reminds me of the Keanu Reeves movie Knock Knock, where uh, two girls knock on the door to Keanu Reeves's home to uh, try to hope that they can like get some assistance, and Keanu Reeves lets them in because he's a nice guy. But then all of a sudden, some time or two later, the girls end up taking him hostage and end up torturing him and burying him, and it really gets to a very interesting uh, way of film, and it's not as weird as the human centipede. So, but anyways, let's actually talk about this movie instead of talking about 30 other films. So, we have these two women that make their way into this guy's home, and this guy is a doctor, and it seems that he's going on and off in the distance making a phone call, but it's not a phone call whatsoever. And he then starts talking to these women, and he tells them that he hates human beings. That's why he doesn't have like a wife. Like he just had dogs at one point, Rottweilers, it seems. So, but that was kind of like a first stage, I guess, of the experiment which had taken place with Dr. Joseph here. So what ends up happening is Joseph is to figure out ways to drug these women to make them go a little nap nap. And they end up waking up to eventually go on and find that there is more than two people here. There is going to be technically three. It's going to be a process to get to three, but the three will be there. And so the doctor ends up explaining the whole procedure that he's going to go on, and he's going to surgically have these people connected together. And it's going to, of course, be from butt to mouth. And it's eventually going to lead to uh, this triplet uh, human centipede, and logically that's where the movie is to go on and get to with this surgery procedure that leads these three people now connected. And so now Joseph has to go on and have these people learn how to uh, work together, and then also when they are to go on and try and escape this place, they have to again work together. And eventually, this movie doesn't exactly have a happy ending, because of course it shouldn't. But then logically, there is to be sequels of this film, which honestly doesn't quite make sense. But this movie really is what it is. Uh, the sequels are to go on and just kind of branch off, uh, and try to expand upon what it did in the original film. And eventually in like the third movie, like they just have like the human centipede with the prison setting where everybody in the prison has to go on and just conjoin together. And really that's all of what's really going on in that entire film. And I'm just like, man, like the sequel movies just get very obscure. I don't even remember what happens in the second one. I only remember like the prison one in the third movie, and how they just take so much time to just put all those people together because supposedly like the prison doesn't have funding, so they decide to go this route, um, so that way people can just have technically uh, have food, um, via them just kind of being conjoined, let's all say together. So with me going on and stating that, uh, this movie I think is to be available through certain apps, but I'm going to dare in fact give you some way to say you can see this movie for absolutely free, because logically it makes a lot of sense, right? I am to not go on and recommend or give this movie a positive review for obvious reasons. I would go on and say that this movie exists, and people should probably um, check this out as like a badge of life to say that they've seen this movie. And like that could just be like, also like if you have an hour and 28 minutes of your time to just blow, then you might as well just watch this movie, um because maybe you just have nothing better to watch. And sadly I think I've gone on and seen this movie more than once. Why? I don't know why. But justifiably, if it seems that people are to view the out of this movie, I may have to be forced to watch the other sequels that I've seen before. Um, but anyways, I think it's about that time to just rush into spoilers, because this movie exists, I would go on and say that it's bad, but what difference does it make? Like, uh, at least this movie has some kind of goal that it achieves, and it's as if we have to uh, applaud it for its effort of having a goal and completing it, and that's all that we can really just do to praise this movie. It's like, well, hey, you guys set this up and you did it, and I'm watching this, and I'm uh wanting to go on and see how these people are to play this all out. I guess there's enough of a story here to keep me watching for an hour and 20 some odd minutes. Good for you, film. Good for you. You have uh clickbaited me into this. Probably like I have gone on and had maybe some people feel that way as well. Um, but anyways, let's go into full on spoilers. Let's um let's just do this up. Let's go on and go into the full aspect of this movie because I logically have to go on and tell people what happened in this film as if they really actually need to know. Man, I'm sorry. My apologies. There is sometimes recently that I'm gonna be just really to the heart here. There are sometimes that I feel that I'm going on and doing movies that I really didn't actually want to do, but I feel that I need to do them for the channel. To hope that these certain titles will do well for the channel, but really, for me, I obviously am to just be like, this was not something that I wanted to actually do. But I know that the movie exists, and to just continue to ignore that I know the movie exists and to not do it because I know that it exists, then that's um my problem to be held upon myself. And uh it is what it is. So uh oh well. Like, we're here, we did this, let's go on and let's go into full on spoilers about this film because I'm just gonna be brutally honest about all this. So with that said, I'm going to pause this here and get out my cast list and my actual uh, things that I decided to, alongside the cast list, try to figure out how I'm going to put the pieces of this puzzle together. For whatever reason, that I just decided to do that today. Because I'm like, man, as soon as I can get this video reviewed out of my brain, it goes, and I am a happy man. With that said, thank you for going on and watching this review. Thank you for going on and watching any of my videos. Because some people may look at this and want to just cancel me right out of the gate. Or some people may want to unsubscribe because they see a video like this. And some people may feel the exact opposite. And they're like, oh my god, we respect this guy now that he's done this kind of movie. And I would just say, why would you go on and do a thing like that? Uh, yeah. Um, but if anything, let me pause here. Let me get out what I need to get out, and we'll go about our day. So let's pause here. All right, guys, we're still all here. So the beginning of this tale, we have Dr. Joseph that is in his car, and he's looking at his Rottweiler dogs all connected together via this photo. We see at some point 2 Rottweiler dogs connected, and then we see 3 Rottweiler dogs connected. So while that's going on, and the knee slapping good time that is to be had by that, we then have a truck driver that is pulling over because he needs to take a dump. So this guy's going and having his bit of toilet paper, and he's rushing out to the woods, and so Dr. Joseph follows him out to the woods with this dart gun and fires and takes him down. It's a rifle that is to be a tranquilizing dart gun. So we then transition to a place that is just to be called Hotel. Very creative movie. You couldn't have found an actual place that actually has a name. It's just freaking Hotel. Whatever. So we have 2 characters here, Lindsay and Jenny. And Jenny is going on and asking at this hotel where there is a nightclub called Bunker. And Lindsay's also having her own phone call with a friend of hers who is Amy. So currently they are in Germany and they want to make their way to Italy, but they are originally from New York. So, like, let's get really confused by everything that I've just stated all there. If you aren't confused, then I will still probably confuse you more by continuing on this rant of this movie. So it seems that Amy was to have a gift that the friends of hers are going to give her, which will never happen. A gift from Holland. Yeah, she'll never get that gift. Sadly enough, Amy. The worst thing that is to happen in this film is Amy is to never go on and get this gift. So, Lindsay is to talk about how some German waiter had wanted the 2 of these girls to go to a party. So Lindsay is wanting to kind of end her conversation with Amy to get to this party. So they drive on to this party, and the 2 of them are to go on and not really know where the heck they're going. And they end up getting lost, and then worse, they end up getting a flat tire. So the 2 of them at first are kind of contemplating whether they should get out of the car and just start walking. And then all of a sudden, a car ends up going on to drive next to them and then park. And this guy is to not go on and speaking any English. Also, I'm sure what a lot of people are thinking, why aren't they using their cell phones and calling? Well, they already did so, and the cell phones have no signal. So these 2 girls do not know how to fix a flat tire. I don't even know if they have an extra tire to actually fix this situation here. But either way, we have this man that is in this other car, and he is going on and speaking a different language than these women, so they can't hear exactly what they say or what he's saying, but eventually they pick up on one word. So the guy goes on and he is mentioning how like these girls look like a adult film that he used to go on and have at his home, and he is to go on and contemplate that these women may be lubricated in a certain area at a certain time. Let's be very cryptic here. So the further and further this guy is to talk, the more that we just have to naturally assume that this guy just wants to help these women, but only if it means that he will go on and get something in exchange or return. And he also goes on and is to wag his tongue at them, and they're like, ew, all right, well, like, we're definitely not going to go on and talk to this guy anymore, and we're just going to hope that he's going to drive off at some point, and then eventually just go and go on foot, and eventually this will lead the two of them, once Jenny is to get exhausted and she's like, I'm not moving anymore. I'm not moving. No. And Lindsay is like, okay, whatever. So the two of them make their way to find a home. They start to go all around the house trying to find where the front door is. So they make the way to the front of this door as it's now pouring down rain, horrifyingly so. It's not going to be the worst part of this film. And they go on and meet with Dr. Joseph. Yes, that Dr. Joseph. So the women explain that they had gotten a flat tire and ask if there's a possibility that they can make a little dingling phone call. Like, hey, can we go on and can we have you call our car company service? We have no service on our phones. So Dr. Joseph ends up asking the two gals, like, well, are you alone? And they end up like, well, yeah, we're alone. Call me. And Skamos is to be sounding like Dracula at some point. He's very weird. So, uh, Dr. Joseph ends up asking the gals, are you tourists? And they end up going like their whole life story. They have to go on and explain to this guy. It's like, well, yeah, like we're road tripping through Europe. We're on a European vacation, and we're from New York, and we're in Germany now. And we're going to Italy, and like, and so the guy is just like, okay, so again, this woman asks if this guy can go on and call for this car service, and Dr. Joseph ends up asking like, "Well, are you relatives? Are you related to one another?" And they're like, "Oh no, we're just friends." And so he's like, "Oh, okay, like I'll make the phone call." So Dr. Joseph goes into his kitchen all by his lonesome. After he goes on and asks the girls if they want anything, like any beverage or any drugs, because I'm sure that they want to have some roofies being put in their drinks. The whole drug thing was a joke. I'm just so as Dr. Joseph is to go on and get the water that the two ladies want, he ends up putting drugs inside of them, which of course is the roofies, and he is going on and he is uh, talking as if he is to be making a phone call, but there is no phone in sight. So the two girls are assessing that it's like, well, like at least he's willing to make this phone call that he's not actually making. So after handing the two girls this drink, we then have Joseph who's telling the girls like, well, uh, the car service will be here in a half an hour maximum. And I'm like, how does he know the phone number of the car service? How does he know that so well? So the two girls are just kind of making conversation because there's nothing else that they can do. And they end up asking, like, well, hey, like, it seems like you have a really nice place here. And do you have a wife? And Joseph is like, no, like, I hate human beings. And it's like, okay, all right. So Lindsay ends up taking her water, and after she's been drugged, she's starting to spill her water. And Joseph insults her, uh, telling her to be careful, and that she's this. I don't want to say the uh, what he ends up actually like insulting her with. That's just awful. So she spills the water, and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll just get you more water." And Lindsay's like, "Oh no, we'll just share the water." It's like, "Okay, sure." So he's like, I'll fetch you a towel, so you can like." Shouldn't that have been the first thing that he did? It's like, "Hey, how about you go on and you like once you get into my home, like how about you just kind of wait here by the door? I'll get you both towels, so like you guys can just kind of dry off instead of sitting on my couch and being wet." It makes no sense. So the two of them are looking at one another like, maybe we should just call a taxi and just get the F out of here. Just go back to the hotel. Because at least we'll be out of this guy's hair, as well as also, like, this guy hates human beings. So what are we here for? So while supposedly getting a towel, Joseph is also getting some more drugs, a needle, concoction that is to knock out seemingly one of the other girls that is to not go on and decide they want some water. So Jenny turns to Lindsay in his submission, "I'm really tired." "Great, you're gonna get even more so by eventually knocking yourself out. So, from all the drugs you've been taking." So by the time that Joseph makes his way back to the girls, one of the girls ends up passing out, and Lindsay asks, like, "Well, hey, like, can you go on and call us a taxi?" And Joseph is like, "Well, I am not going to make another phone call." And so she's like, "Well, can I make one?" So Lindsay eventually tries to get off of the couch to go for wherever the phone is, wherever that can logically have been. And she starts leaking from out of her mouth. And she is trying to go on and drag her way to wherever the phone could be. And Joseph ends up picking this girl up and injecting her in the neck. And they go on to wake up in these hospital beds in this underground hospital that Joseph is to have within his home. So as Joseph is to look at these three suitors, because again, we have to realize that there is the trucker that Joseph had caught with a dart while he was taking a deuce. So Joseph turns to the truck driver and tells him, like, "You don't match. I have to kill you. I'm sorry, it's not personal." And so Joseph murders a guy by injecting him, kills him, and then buries him. Well, at least he buries him. So Joseph then goes on and is to find another dart gun victim as he drives to his home to now have a another guy that seems to actually have a name in this movie called Katsuro. I'm sure I'm going to mention that name incorrectly throughout a good chunk of this thing, so I'm probably just going to call him Katsuro. And God, that was such an a-hole thing to say. Um, I'm dumb. Anyways, so sometime later, we have Joseph that makes his way down to his now three patients, and we have Joseph that is slapping Katsuro awake, and then starts to go to all the other patients and starts like starts touching them and feeling them, and because he doesn't give a because he doesn't care. Um, and Katsuro is going on and talking about in his own language. No offense to who this guy is. I'm trying not to offend anybody, but he's going on and talking about like now that he's in this dangerous situation, how the strength of him like will have him break uh, these ties that he's in. Yeah, that won't ever happen. Uh, but the guy is talking about, let me go, get me out of here, blah blah blah, while this is all going on, as well as everyone else does the whole crying and pleading and whatever begging crap that we have in every like scary torture film that we've ever seen in our lives, and it gets really really annoying in a lot of other ones. Um like I don't get why we have to have the screaming and crying and begging in certain films. And like in the movie Hostel, it gets really bad to where I'm just like, man, like this is so annoying and so overdone. And you would think that these people wouldn't go on and give these people the service of that begging and screaming and crying, because it's like, oh, that's what they want, so I'm not going to give them what they want. Uh, like I'm just going to die in silence to where they get nothing. Um, but if anything, let's go on and talk about this film. So Dr. Joseph goes on to mention this whole procedure that he had been prior a doctor that had separated conjoined twins, but now he wants to go on, instead of separating, he wants to create. So Joseph goes on and talks about this whole procedure, how of course he is to go on and remove tissue uh, from the buttocks and attach it to the mouth, and needing to adjust uh, certain pieces of the jaw and this and that, whatever. Like there's kind of pictures being kind of done here, but eventually it's the like he goes on and fully explains this thing, and it's very long-winded, and I think I don't want to go on and explain the whole thing. But and then also there is some names and of certain things to just kind of avoid here. So all this is leading up to all these people to eventually become Siamese triplets, a human centipede. And so so really he ends up actually saying the actual name of the movie right here. So he did the thing, he said the thing. So Joseph ends up turning to Katsuro and is saying like, well, hey, here's your breakfast, some anesthesia. So as Joseph goes on to start injecting these people with anesthesia, it seems that Lindsay ends up figuring out a way to untie herself and start to escape as Jenny is calling for her mother. Okay. I don't know how this woman's mother is just going to magically appear. I don't know why she's crying out for her mother. You would think that she would just go on and just cry out for help, or anything else that would make some logical sense here. So Lindsay escapes. She starts running amok all throughout this home, to come to find out that the front door is not so easily accessible to escape. And then Lindsay kind of just forces herself into a room, and the door kind of gets all wonky and unworkable. So Joseph eventually goes on to make his way to where Lindsay is and is telling her to open up. Yeah, I'm sure she's going to give in to you. Like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, you're right. I should go on and open this door. It seems like the most logical thing to do. So, of course, Joseph is mentioning all the horrible things that he's going to do to Lindsay. Uh, that he's not going to go on and give her anesthesia, and he's going to cut her knees and pull all of her teeth out one by one, and so on and so forth. So come to find out, Lindsay, while escaping, she had ripped this IV from out of her arm, and so she's really bleeding in her arm there. So Lindsay is to start to look around the room to see if there's any other route for her to escape, for her to find this massive window that Joseph has now appeared upon and is going to break through with this dart gun. So Lindsay is now forced to try and figure out a way to reopen this door so she can escape from this room as Joseph is coming through the door, or the big massive window that Joseph ends up making a door for himself. So as Lindsay scrambles from out of this room to now throughout this home, she accidentally stumbles into this pool and is to start to consistently now just have to bury herself in this pool because Joseph is going to arrive and have this dart gun with him. So Joseph is telling Lindsay, like, well, hey, like, make sure that your head is perfectly still. I'd hate to poke you in one of your eyes or hurt you in any way. So, also, Lindsay is just wanting just Joseph to just end her here, and because she doesn't want to do whatever Joseph actually wants her to do, which is this experiment. So Joseph is to go on and tell Lindsay because she was the one to have escaped like she did, other than all of the other people, that Joseph has decided that this girl is going to end up being the middle, having to be the B person, if we're going by line here, that is going to be stuck in the middle, that is going to be sewn from butt to face to butt, uh, and be uh, the person who is going to suffer the worst as far as recovering from this whole procedure. So, but supposedly the healing pains will be twice as intense. So, uh, Joseph goes on to then uh, put a uh, like a pool uh, tent on, and like the pool ends up closing. So so Lindsay tries to like hold off in this pool as long as she can, but there's only one opening that's in this pool. But then all of a sudden the power ends up going out, and so Joseph runs out to uh try to figure out a way to get the power back on. So while that's going on, Lindsay escapes out of the pool, rushes to find her friend, apologizes to Katsuro because she can't save him because she can only drag her friend. So she apologizes to him. And I don't know if this guy's even conscious or not because he probably isn't. So Lindsay is dragging Jenny all throughout this goddamn house. And I'm just like, man, I feel sorry for Jenny right now, having to just be by the hands, just dragged throughout this entire place. Even what makes it even worse is now she's getting dragged through broken glass through this window that had become basically a door now. And so they do all of this dragging through this entire house. And you're thinking, oh, Lindsay is to go on and escape now. Yeah, not so much. Joseph ends up tagging her with a dart. She ends up falling over. And then Joseph ends up putting a boot to her face. So Joseph then turns around and does the procedure on every single one of these people. Ends up putting dots on their faces and their knees because he's going to cut into their knees. And uh, and so he goes on and he starts pulling certain people's teeth out. So Joseph goes on and gets so exhausted that he has to go on and sit down. And so he goes to his gravesite. I believe it's probably from one of his Rottweilers. And we then see like a kind of quick clips of Joseph, and he's sleeping, and like they're cutting back to the to the centipede, and they're then cutting to Joseph getting a new glass replaced. No one, I guess, notices wherever the blood was because I guess Joseph figured out a way to clean it. So Joseph gets an alcoholic beverage in celebration as now his let's just call it let's just call it the centipede instead of calling it three different people. So the centipede is now resting on the ground on just the wood floor, and Joseph is looking at the healing process, and he's realizing that they're healing good, and telling them that their suffering will be over soon. And he's like, I know, I know you're in a lot of pain, I know. And then um Joseph ends up waking who he calls his lead, and then forces them to all together stand up because he knows that they can do it now. So they all stand up, and now uh Joseph is to be, of course, in very much victory. He's like, I did it. Oh my God. Like, he takes pictures. Uh, all of the three people of the centipede are crying, and Joseph is crying. He's having a mirror to have them all see, like, the horror that they are all tied together surgically. And Joseph then looks at himself in the mirror. He's kissing himself. He's crying. He's crazed. So, next up, we of course get Katsura or Katsuro, that is in this dog cage, centipede connected together again because all three. So he's going on and he's telling the doctor that he'll regret this, that he's a filthy a-hole. He's saying it, of course, in his native language. And, like, we consistently have the girls that are holding one another's hands, I guess, to just, like, uh, to be, like, the only comfort between the two of them. But eventually we'll see that hand holding at some point eventually just kind of fades, sadly. So, Joseph is to, of course, now want his centipede to uh, show some movement. So he has them in the backyard and puts a newspaper in the lead's mouth and is telling him, like, well, hey, give me the world, give me the newspaper. So the lead, or Katsuro, drops the newspaper consistently and does not want to move, does not want to do what this guy wants. So Joseph goes on and is trying to humiliate, if we haven't already humiliated Katsuro enough already, by having then Joseph, like, almost ride on top of Katsuro and do the motions 1, 2, 3, 4, and this and that to, like, say, hey, you need to move, you need to walk, you need to this. So We then transition into dinner time, and Katsuro is getting a big, huge dog bowl of a meal, and Joseph is going on and getting his own plate of a steak. So because Katsuro is disgraced and be treated like a dog here, Katsuro bites the leg of Joseph. And so Joseph in return punts uh Katsuro in the face and beats the out of him and tells him like, hey, if you ever do that again, I'm gonna pull your teeth one by one. And he ends up calling him some uh certain kind of phrasing here that I won't call him because it's offensive. But he calls him a hole. So Joseph goes back to his meal, cuts it open. I think he realizes that it's too bloody, and so he like retires his meal. So next up, we have Joseph back at it again, wanting the centipede to go on and move along on the road again. Whatever. Uh, get some step-ins. So this time around, we have Joseph with this big, massive boot on his legs that are almost knee high, and Joseph turns to Katuro and is like, "Yeah, bite my leg now. Try it now. Come on." So we have Katsuro and the rest of the centipede. They start moving. They start walking, and we have Katsuro that mentions that I guess Joseph loves this and like he thinks that it's his fetish. And I was like, man, like you go, Katsuro. And Joseph ends up saying, "How dare you turn your back at me?" And all of a sudden we find that Katsuro, he needs to go on and he needs to take a dump. He needs to go to good old number two, and he needs to take a crap. And when doing so, that means someone is going to digest what Katsuro is crapping. So we have Katsuro. He's apologizing, but he needs to crap. So this girl is ingesting it, and horrifically, we have Joseph. That's like feed her, feed. Yeah, I don't want to repeat that so much. It's weird. But I think that thing is just gonna get burned in my freaking brain for the next couple days. I'm just gonna be thinking of like feed her, yeah, like just like oh my god, just the horrifying why. So we're back at the centipede cage. These people are caged up again, and this probably reminds me of the movie Pet. Uh, the movie I barely saw, but I heard things about it. So I'm sure that's probably another movie that is to be wildly successful for reasons I don't quite understand. But I saw a bit of it and then didn't want to really watch the whole thing. But I'm sure it's probably a hugely popular movie. I'm sure. So Joseph is to be upset uh, about Katuro and the fact that they are making way too much noise, and he wanted to, I guess, rip out their vocal cords, and he's having problems sleeping, and so the next thing we see is that Joseph is now swimming bare butt naked, and the centipede is tied to a chair, but then Kituro unties himself and he tries to get the centipede walking, and Joseph gets out of the pool. It's like, oh yeah, go on, try to escape. All right, sure. So he's letting them go. He's letting them, like, oh yeah, go on and take all the time in the world. Try to escape. So he then takes his horsewhip and lights them up. And uh, he's like, I'll teach you to mind me. So now Joseph is inspecting every single one of them. And he starts to, like, okay, his lead is fine. Uh, the middle girl possibly needs some more laxatives, and it seems like for the last one there seems to be some kind of infection going on with this girl's mouth, and she may be dying, and Joseph is just thinking about how to replace this girl. So Joseph ends up getting a call from his door, and it ends up being uh, of these detectives. And the Centipede is trying to make as much noise as possible. Katuro is trying to shout and whatever, and Joseph is telling them to shut up. So the police has arrived. So there's a detective Avoyer and a detective Krantz. I'm sure I'm not going to easily remember these names, but they're here nonetheless. So the dialogue between these people, as they're not speaking in English, reasonably, it's all about that there are to be people missing, and their vehicles are to be found nearby the neighborhood. And the detectives are just kind of curious if Joseph knows anything about this. And Joseph is like, well, hey, like, you've come to the wrong house. Like, I'm so busy with my research and writing. Like, I'm hardly ever anywhere else but my home. So Joseph ends up going on and asking the detectives if they would like anything to drink, and they unfortunately do. So, of course, Joseph goes on and is to drug the water because he wants to go on and add to his collection of making a quadrant or quadruped or whatever, a four. He wants to extend his centipede. So, but the drug, I think, is what is making Joseph even more like he doesn't give a f um, about talking to these detectives. So, but if anything, they're really just talking to this. So the detectives are really going on and talking to Joseph just because at some point, like, their investigation has just kind of reached a dead end. They don't know where these people are, and like, since this guy has to be this doctor, and it seems that he's nearby, like, they don't want to disturb him, but they just feel that they need to ask some questions. So, but Joseph is like, well, hey, but I have neither the time nor the patience for this. And the further and further, uh, also Krantz is going on and talking to Joseph. Like, well, hey, I noticed that there's a cage over here. Like, what do you have the cage for? And Joseph is like, well, for my experience. And also, Krantz ends up mentioning that there is an eyewitness that says that that there was a woman uh, who was screaming on Joseph's property, and it was an American woman. And Joseph is like, "Well, I have no idea what you're talking about." So they go on and they continue and ask him about this Mercedes and this abandoned Dutch truck, and like eventually this is going on to have these detectives like suspect Joseph, and Joseph is like, how dare you suspect me? Um, like, finish your drinks and leave my house. And so eventually, this more and more builds up in Krantz and Joseph. Joseph ends up slapping away this glass and breaks it. Uh, because Joseph keeps shoving this glass in this guy's face to drink this water, and he won't. And so Joseph is to go on and get a towel because he wants to go on and get another injection. So that, of course, is where Joseph tells the the human centipede that he's gonna go on and drug these guys and get a quadriplegic, whatever more than three is. So we have Katuro, and he's grasping for this scalpel. So the detective, Krantz, ends up asking Joseph what's in his cellar, and Joseph ends up explaining it's like, well, uh, it's my laboratory, and it's my work room, and a torture chamber. And so they want to go on and they want to look at the cellar, and Joseph is like, no, like, no chance. Like, you have to go on, you have to get a warrant. And so the guy is like, oh, okay, well, like, we can go on, we can get a warrant, and we'll be back here uh in X number of minutes. And so the guy is like, well, how about you go on and you go and you do that? So the detective Krantz ends up noticing the towel and goes on and finds that there is an injection needle in this guy's arm. And he's like, well, what is this? And Joseph ends up saying that it's an insulin needle, and because he's a diabetic. So that even forces the people to get even more suspicious. So they're like, oh, okay, we're going to come back with this warrant, and we'll be back in 20 minutes. And so we'll see you soon. So Joseph goes back to the centipede to find that it's okay. Okay, where is the centipede? So Katsuro stabs Joseph in the leg and then rips out a part of his neck. And so now the centipede is trying to escape up this flight of stairs, going on and like having these three kind of work in sequence, doing 1 2 1 2 1 2. So they struggle up this flight of stairs, but they do make it. As eventually Joseph is to follow them as he's to wake up and start to make it also up the flight of stairs that they have gone on and made it up to. So the centipede characters obviously cannot realize that they can go to the front door and have it open. So they're going back to that room that Lindsay was in earlier, to then realize that they can get out via re-breaking that window to again make a door. So Matsuro ends up grabbing a lamp, breaks uh, breaks the glass. So Joseph makes his way to the Centipede, and so Katsuro has a piece of glass, and he goes into this whole sling of dialogue where he mentions that Joseph is a god and that he is a insect, um, but maybe he is also to be a human being. There's a whole huge line of dialogue that Katsuro goes into here, and then he slices his own neck and falls over and dies. So Joseph is to go on and just be just kind of defeated, I guess, because he is to lose his lead. So the detectives return, and so now Joseph starts to make his way through his home to go to the room with the pool. So the detectives start to make their way through the house as they are to break in, and they come to find Joseph's cellar and underground uh, hospital room. And we have Krantz that ends up going on to find the human centipede. And Voller, the other detective besides Krantz, finds uh, finds Joseph, and Voller ends up getting killed, and he falls into the pool. And Krantz, while hearing the commotion, goes back to find Voller in the pool, and now it seems that Joseph is to have a gun, and so he shoots Krantz, and then Krantz fires at Joseph, and the two of them kill one another. And so I'm like, oh my god, like all these people have just kind of killed one another off. So now the only two people that are left are Jenny and Lindsay, and they're connected to Katsuro. So what are they gonna do? Like, are they gonna try and figure out a way to like cut themselves away from Katsuro? Yeah, I don't think that's happening. So we start to see Jenny become more and more pale and white as a ghost, and Lindsay continues to hold the hand of Jenny, and then the hand starts to fade. And then the last thing we see is that uh, Lindsay is crying because of the loss of her friend, because her friend is obviously dead now, and she's all alone, connected to these bodies. She has no way of really escaping here, and we just turn to uh, the playing out or fading to black of this movie. That is to just have them just show the outdoors of this place and the trees, and then credits roll. So with that said, I'm going to try to get the heck out of here so I can get out of here before the hour and 28 minutes. So I saved you 20 minutes, I guess, instead of having me rant forever. And plus, also, I really in my brain was to think about how could I rush through this anyways to just get it done. So with that said, good. I didn't go on for 2 hours like I did the other review, so that's nice. And also, um, thank you for going on and watching these reviews. If you go on and actually watch this one, because I honestly did this one, hoping oddly that people would watch it. But then again, I'm just like, I'm certain to just do certain pieces of content, uh, just to hope that they will actually get the clickety click. Um, and it's kind of sad. Um, because like if I could just go on and just get uh just people watching the videos consistently, then I wouldn't have to go on and have to feel that I need to do projects like this. Um, but like, hey, I'm still at a point or I'm still trying um, to find what works for the channel. And a lot of these titles that are going to come out recently are going to reflect that on the channel to try to build the channel because that's still what always I'm doing. Because there's a lot of times where there was just a lot of projects um, that I also did because I like, oh, at this time, like I really wanted to do them. And then there's also just like um, things where I'm hoping like I can build the views or I can build the channel or I can just figure out ways to just keep going and keep doing this every day because eventually I'm sure I will just exhaust myself getting this all out every single day. So more than likely that's the reason why I go on and do all these things because I want this to be successful. I want this to do well. Um, and this probably won't be the video that does that. Probably no one will watch it, and I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I do this to myself? Because that could actually happen also. And then maybe everything that I'm going to put into the channel, as far as the future things that I'm going to review, may be a massive mistake. And I'm like, well, like that was a dumb decision that I made one day, but I'm just going to continue to make them. So that's it. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.